beep, 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 beep. My apologies for the lame sound effects. But in all honesty, that's the only thing I remember from that day, the sound of that medical apparatus. Beep, beep, beep. You see, I am probably at one of the lowest points of my life, looking up at a cold ceiling of an ICU room. They told me science has done all it could, nothing more to be done. Only thing is to wait and see how this agony will end. But what if I told you that we as humans develop something so strong inside of our minds that will help us overcome any obstacle? Joseph Conrad said, "Only in men's imagination does every truth find an undeniable existence." Imagination, not invention, is the supreme master of art as of life. Okay, so I want you all to imagine that you're a caveman running on the prairie alongside your best friend and below a big thunderstorm. Then all of a sudden, lightning comes and kills your best friend right on the spot. You start looking up between the thunderstorms and your dead friend and don't know what to do. You see, that and many other dangers were present in our ancestors' lives. Humans needed comfort, and sometimes there were no answers to suit their worries. So, how do you think they cope with all these fears? Well, some of them imagine higher beings controlling the lightning and deciding who lived or who died. So they started praying to them. Others, they just sat in front of a fire pit and contemplated their own mortality. However, others used their minds to create tools or find out how nature works. I call that imagination. And it plays a big role in our lives. So much so that when I was a kid, I used to get in too much trouble because of daydreaming. But you see, just as our sight, taste, touch, hearing, and smell evolve, so did our imagination capacity. It is part of ourselves. Just as we need to breathe, we need to imagine. And we must fill that space in our minds daily, otherwise we will miss an essential part of ourselves. Some people fill it with religion, some with meditation, and some, like me, with dreams. I have to thank my dad and all those stories he used to tell me when I was a kid for that. But no matter what the case is, the point is that the void has to be filled. And that is my pitch to you. Imagination is everything. It's the only thing that matters. Not wealth, not power, not strength. Everything bows to creativity. Think of this. Everything that we have ever done and will ever do will come from someone who thinks of something before it can exist. Beep, 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 beep. So back to my little ordeal here. It's hard for me to tell you stories about how imagination has been part of my life, mainly because some of them are a little bit embarrassing, but I'll do my best. It's not that we are recording this and putting it up in the internet, right? Oh, we are? Okay, well, let me just take some of this thing I work in. Okay, beep, beep, my mind is a mess and I want to get out of there. So what did I do? As I look around the hospital room, I used my imagination to create something other than the moment I was experiencing. At first, I thought of anything that would make my mind wander, weird things or anything that came to my mind. But soon, I remember Aristotle. He placed great emphasis on the role that imagination plays on the dynamics of perception, emotion, thinking, and our overall subjective experience. For him, images in our minds lead to emotions, which in turn lead to decisions and so on and so forth. And that's how I escaped that day. That's how I stopped feeling pain. Same way I used to do it when I was a kid. The same way I thought of worlds and stories that I later wrote as a filmmaker. That's right. Using your creativity can lead you to new worlds, and nourishing it can help you overcome any obstacle. But you say, well, I'm not an artist, so creativity, imagination, they're not really important in my life. Well, as much as you value hard work, knowledge, and competitive drives, imagination is vital for all of them to work and bring you results. Not only that, but inventiveness lingers around your mind, ready to make you think outside the box and earn a competitive edge. The problem is that only a few value imagination. Sometimes our parents, especially when you come from humble upbringings, encourage you to leave imagination behind. Perhaps as a childish thing, like a toy or a game. Some people say that imagination doesn't pay the bills. At least my dad used to tell me that when I was a kid. But imagination serves us daily in many ways. Ideas can also calm your anxieties, you know. Some people say that too much imagination can cause more of them. That might be right. We can think of scenarios in which we lose it all. I know this because as a kid, I put myself in too much trouble that my mind would not let me rest for a second. Later, I had to take pills for that. And sometimes, you want to end it all. But you see, imagination is ours. Imagination is freedom. It's the only thing that nobody can take away from you. You control what you can imagine. And just that you have those anxious moments, you can also think of better outcomes and provide solutions to any problem. Imagination gives you motivation. You can see yourself conquering life or creating a path to achieve anything that you can imagine. But when we use imagination together, when we build on each other's ideas and construct whole new paths, then imagination is even more powerful than that. You don't believe me? Just listen to the magic flute. Stand below the Sistine Chapel. Or sit with your friends in a dark room and watch a moving image come to life. Imagination is so powerful. It has taken us to the moon. Discovered vaccines that prevent us from extinction. Or created new ways of communicating ourselves that enrich our lives daily, like a TED Talk. But perhaps a much better example would be when I was 18 years old, I volunteered for the Red Cross in Matamoros, Mexico. Probably the moment that I remember the most from those days was helping this man carry his family out of a flooded zone. This man looked back and saw his tiny makeshift home being dragged away by the waters. Despite that, this humble human being turns to me and said, "Don't worry, kid, I can get everything back." His words changed my life forever. Amid all of this tragedy, he was imagining his life back. And as long as I was carrying his little daughter out of danger, everything else didn't matter. You see, imagination is not just for composers, painters, or writers. Imagination makes you think of better outcomes. And in this man's case, fresh starts. Hence the phrase, if you can imagine it, you can make it happen. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, this damn beep again. Sorry, I promise I'm getting somewhere with this. You see, the machine that makes this noise is not tied to me, but to my Father. I'm with him, holding his hand, waiting to see who wins the battle, him or his pancreatic cancer. Days before, on one of his last lucid moments, we had a conversation that it was pending for many years. As I told you before, my dad didn't think it was a good idea for me to be a filmmaker. Like any father, he worried that I wouldn't make enough to earn a living following a pipe dream. So he made me choose another path, one that I always dreaded, one that it made me bitter and filled with anxieties. But in that last lucid moment, my father changed his mind. He asked me to forgive him and encouraged me to follow my dream. I would like to tell you that imagination is so powerful that even saved his life. I can't. He died a few days later. No. Imagination is even more powerful than that. My father died imagining me joyful, directing movies, writing scripts, and telling stories that made fun of dying and suffering. Tales that I hope it will make us forget our troubles, even for just a little bit. Imagination is so powerful, and it makes a dying man reach heaven happy. And that makes me remember my dad and imagine the words I will say to him the next time I see him. That gives me comfort, happiness. It cures my loneliness. It makes me a more sane human being. And finally, it helps me make movies. Thank you. Thank you.